And you're watching the JFJ Conspiracy Podcast,
where the shop talk is rock.
2, 3.
I'm Jim.
And I'm Frank.
And I'm Jerry.
And who else?
I'm Jeff.
That's right. And this is the JFJ Conspiracy, where the shop talkers rock. If you're watching, you can see we have a special guest on tonight's show, and that's Jeffery Brenneman from the Paisley stage Raspberry and Rhyme.
I think we really got to compliment his shirt.
That is a
what
cool
a snappy
shirt.
dresser.
Yes.
Oh, wow. He beat us to it, guys. He beat us to it.
Look at these handsome silhouettes.
Oh,
Line drawing. I mean,
Yes.
Who are those guys?
Well, at any rate, look at those silhouettes.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Appreciate you wearing
Thank
that.
you. That's awesome, Jeffrey. Yeah.
I maybe one day you'll actually wear that in public and people could see it. So.
Why would he wouldn't do that?
I know.
He need to embarrass himself.
Yeah.
I'm not quite.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Jeff. Great pleasure.
Thank
having
you,
on.
Jeffrey. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Yep.
It's an honor to join you guys. I watch you guys all the time, so it's really an honor to be in the room with the conspiracy guys. And I didn't think you guys had enough J's in the group, so
Right.
Yep. Could always use another one. Yep.
Well, what I tell a lot of people is if ever we can kick Jim or Jerry out, we still have you. So
There you go.
there'll always be a JFJ.
And Jim's son, Jacob.
And Jacob too. That's right.
He's very knowledgeable and hip.
We have our backups.
That's right. We have no F's though. We don't have any F's to give. We don't
give any
an
F's.
F. Yeah, we don't give an F.
Nope.
None.
Yeah, but besides the Paisley
No
Stage
F's to give.
Raspberry and Rhyme podcast, Jeff, I know you started something else. And why don't you share that with our listeners?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Frank. So I started a new podcast called Independent Podcast Review, and we're going to go through the discography of a label that came out of Los Angeles known as the Independent Project Records label. And they put out about 70 albums of pretty much LA-based bands, kind of in the goth, art, industrial, experimental realm. Biggest bands that I think that came out of there were probably Camper Van Beethoven and Grantley Buffalo versions. Yeah, versions of those bands. So we're going to go through every single one of the episodes, starting with IPR 001. That will be our episode 1. We did a pilot episode, so that's out there with the founder of the label. So my buddy and bandmate Greg Grunke and I are going to be doing this new podcast. So
Very nice.
Yeah, it's great.
It'll be
We'll
fun.
make sure we put the link on our page also, so our fans can check it out.
Yeah.
When do you think that first episode is going to drop? I know you already did the pilot.
Yep. So we're probably about 3 or 4 more weeks. So we're in the planning stages. It's going to probably be a monthly YouTube only video, and they should be in the 15 to 30 minute range.
You're talking my language.
Perfect.
Yeah. We always dream for that, Jeffrey.
Yeah, that's a goal.
Yeah, our show started an hour and 20, and we fine-tuned it, got it down to an hour and tweaked it some more, and we're about the 45-minute mark now. And I like that. I like that time frame. Seems to work for us. I know your guys' show goes a little longer because your guests have longer memories. You know, they've been around a long time. They got a lot to say, and you can't cut some of that stuff out. So
no.
Yeah, and I'm a lazy editor, so there's that too.
Oh, okay.
But always interesting. We should probably also mention Club Barnett. Well, you got both of you guys here.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Well done, Jaime. Yep.
I don't think we'll have to twist Ronnie's arm too hard for season 3. It's a matter of finding the time to get it recorded. And then
as soon as he hears this, he's calling Jeffrey and you, Frank. You know that. Yeah.
It's always good to hear from Ronnie. As a matter of fact, we'll be doing a special episode with him pretty soon also.
Yes.
Most unappreciated bands that we feel are the most unappreciated bands. So that'll be a lively conversation, I'm sure.
It would, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So anyways, tonight's episode is going to be our favorite movie, rock movie or musical. There were no real parameters, so that's what we're going to be talking about. But before that, Jeff, I know you've always had a question you want to ask.
Yeah, and I've been waiting to do this for a long time, and I feel honored, and I'm very curious to know.
What's in Jim's fridge?
This time around, this is a special album, one of my favorite records in my collection.
Motley Crue.
Ooh,
Motley
well
Crue.
done, Jaime. Yeah.
Too Fast for Love. This is the original pressing on Leather Records.
Whoa.
Very nice.
Wow.
Just happened to walk into Music Plus and saw it. Didn't know anything about it other than I had seen an ad in, I think in the Tribune. And I told this story before. I was going to start a band called Motley Crue. We had a history teacher in high school who used to always call our class the Motley Crue.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought one day I'm going to start a band called Motley Crue. And then I saw an ad in the San Gabriel Valley Tribune. Motley Crue is playing in Pasadena. And I was like, well, so much for that.
Yep.
Anyway, so maybe a month or two later, I saw this at Music Plus and picked it up. And far superior, I think, to... oh, here we go.
Elektra ruined it. They ruined it.
Still got the...
There you go.
Still got the poster that came with it. And it's looking good. / lyric sheet.
Nice.
Yeah, Roy Thomas Baker took it and completely ruined the mix. And
Yep.
I remember being at a Stormer party and Tommy was there and he said, "Well, I've got some rough mixes," and he started playing them for everybody. And I was like, "The heck did they do to this poor record? It sounds
Castrated it.
terrible."
That's what they did.
Yeah. Anyway, I loved it. Loved it when it came out. I listened to it quite a bit, and it was amazing. It was amazing how many they just sold of these word of mouth and before too.
Yeah.
The weird thing is getting the record home and starting to look at it. And I'm looking at this Vince Neil guy, and I'm going, "Hey, he looks a lot like Vince Wharton."
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's Vince, and I'm like, "Hey, that's Tom Bass."
Yeah.
What's this
Right.
Tommy Lee business?
Yeah. From Sweet 19.
Sweet 19, but I played in US 101. He used to play
US
played in
101.
a cover band called US 101.
They did a sock hop at high school, Jaime.
He used to play dances at our school all the time.
Yep.
And great drummer. Turned into an even better drummer down the road, I think. But,
Yep.
Good
Very
band,
good.
I think, that is greater than the sum of its parts.
More than likely. Yeah, it's probably
I
good
would
way to
agree
put
with
it.
that, Jim. Yes. Yeah.
So anyway, vinyl's so cool, you got to keep it on ice.
All right. Very nice. That's
Snap.
Motley Crue's debut album. Love it. Too Fast for Love.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get into the movie soundtrack, favorite movie, rock movie, we have some other business to deal with. And Jeff, we invited you in on this last week. It was Jim's pick for classic album, and for us to pick a song that we thought each of us would like the most. So Jim, why don't you take it away with your pick?
Yeah, so we have UFO Lights Out. 1977 came out. It was their 6th studio album produced by Ron Nevison. A mere 8 songs on the record. Very short. And I remember reading a thing that they had been putting like 10 songs more on a record. And when they started reading their contract, they found out they weren't getting paid for the other 2 songs. So they said, why are we doing this? We're just going to record 8 songs if that's all we're getting paid for. So Kerrang magazine named it number 28 on their list of the 100 greatest heavy metal albums of all time. So pretty high honors there.
I didn't know it was that far up. Wow.
Now, do you think it's the best of that cluster of albums that they did at that time? Force It, Phenomenon.
I like it better than Force It.
Really?
And it's probably maybe just a notch above Obsession.
Very good. Now, Jeff, we talked earlier, you were not familiar with this album, right?
No. In fact, I only recognized a song or 2, but I've been listening to it for the last 48 hours. So
all right.
I'm ashamed to say that I don't know much by UFO, and I need to change that after listening to this album.
They were a good
Same here,
band.
Jeffrey. Same here. Yep.
Okay, so
Jim, interestingly, Jeff, you said like you didn't know too much about him, but a guy I used to work with, he was a few years younger than me, but he was from the East Coast, and he was amazed that I knew who UFO was. And I said, "What are you talking about? They're huge." He goes, "What do you mean they're huge?" Because back on the East Coast, they were nothing ever bigger than a opening band. They played like 1,500 seat arenas, and they were selling out the Long Beach Arena here 3 nights in a row at the same time. So kind of weird, very, very big kind of here and certainly in Europe, but kind of never really caught on here in the US.
No.
Okay, so Jim, let's hear what your favorite song on that album is.
My favorite song is, and boy, it was really hard. There's not a song on this record I do not like. I know you already know what it is, Frank.
I don't know.
Just Another Suicide.
See that?
I love that bass line in there.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. This week.
Right.
And today I was listening to it again. I thought, man, I really like Getting Ready. What a great song. But you can't discount Lights Out. Can't discount Too Hot.
What'd you pick, Jerry?
Here's what I picked for Jim. Getting
ready. Yeah.
Getting ready. See?
Getting ready.
I went with the title track.
I came a hair trigger away from picking Getting Ready too, but
I know mine is backwards, folks, but
just Another Suicide ran one out in the end.
Yeah, I went with the opening track, not the title track, Too Hot to Handle. It's a rocker, you know.
It is a rocker.
It's very,
good. There's several good songs. It's hard to pick one and just know, because, you know, Pete Way, you can't go wrong. He played some tasty bass licks.
Yes. My thing is, guys, my thing here, is that I heard UFO live first, just like with Kiss Alive. So hearing the studio version of it, it was different. But it's a good album. All I had was Strangers in. All I had was the live album, Jim, and I think UFO's best of. So that
live album's kind of almost is a best of, really.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, yes, and then it's a good album, and it's studio, and it's crisp and clean and well mixed, and So I'm sorry.
We're not 100% sure how live it actually is, Jerry.
It's all good.
He hates when we say
don't
that.
do that. No, but Jeffrey, when they first, whatever podcast it was, 2 or 3 or whatever, and they said, Kiss Alive isn't really live. They went back to it. It crushed me. It broke my heart.
Yeah.
So I think every live album is how they played. Boy, they were sharp that whole week. Wow. So yes, it is what it is. So
all right, I want to move on to Jeff, because to me, your pick is so obvious that you're probably going to throw us a swerve. So listening to this album, what is your favorite song on Lights Out?
I feel like mine is a gimme, because I had the 3 of you on our Love Forever Changes
episode.
No. So Alone Again was my favorite. So.
Boy, it better be, Jeff. I tell you.
Absolutely. Jeff, I almost called these guys today or texted them today and said, look, it's only going to be really funny if we all pick Alone Again or.
Yeah.
Jeff. I didn't do that, but yeah, absolutely. And I think, so as an expert on that band, what do you think of their cover?
I think it's a great version, and it's cool to hear the trumpet lead on guitar, how UFO did the lead version. And the end, they just go all out on the end.
Bonkers, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great version.
They're very true to it. You know, they don't bastardize it so much where you don't know what it is. You know exactly what the song is. Jerry, what did you think Jeffrey was going to pick?
Alone Again or.
Okay. Yep. All right.
I know it's backwards.
There it is.
All right. That had to be just. I went through. I said, there's so many good songs on here, but man, if he doesn't pick that love tune,
I know
we're going fisticuffs.
All right.
The beauty of that song is, the very first version I heard was UFO.
Right.
But it's such a good song. I don't know that there's a bad version of it anywhere. I love the Dams version. I've heard a few other versions, and they're just. Maybe the song's just so good you can't wreck it. I don't know, but
I think
it's a brilliant tune.
For that. Agreed.
Yeah, they did a good job.
My thing, guys, was I know we've covered it on a show, but it was probably over 2 years ago. I know we've all said what songs we like by this and that. I went through all my notes, and I just listened to it. I listened to it, and I go, that's Frank,
right?
I think Jim. And then Jeffrey, as soon as I heard that, Frank, exactly what you said, I go, oh, yeah. That's got to be Brenneman. That's got to be Brenneman right there.
Yeah, that's it.
We're not doing it justice. So I feel pretty good about my pick so far, guys.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you mine now. And again, lots of good hard rockers on this album. So you could have gone any way. But just because listening to this one song, there's a guitar lick that I love, simple, tasty lick all the way through it.
Riff rock.
Electric Phase. Now, I doubt you guys picked that, did you?
Dude! Check next to Frank. Sorry to interrupt. I've got Lights Out or Electric Phase.
You get half the points.
Jerry.
Lights Out or Electric Phase? You guys going on here?
The fastest rider I've ever seen.
No.
That's awesome.
No.
Isn't that great, Jeffrey? We guys are quadruplets from different mothers. So I love this stuff.
What did you go with, Jim? What did you think I'd pick?
Well, I was just sure it was going to be Electric Phase, and I thought, no, the hardest rocking song on the album is Lights Out.
Lights Out is, yeah.
You and I flip-flopped it, Jaime.
So I said, it's got to either be Lights Out or Electric Phase. But ultimately I said Lights Out.
Yeah. I almost went with Lights Out. I really did, but it's like listening to that one guitar lick just go over and over on the right channel. I was like, oh, this is sweet. I love this.
Oh man, what a show.
I'm notorious for doing that. The first song I picked for Frank, I always talk myself out of.
Well, I do that too, but then I get worse. I was closer with the first pick, but
man.
And
awesome.
I sent, by the way, Jeffrey, I sent Jim and Frank a picture of my picks with the notepad where you can see it. And I am on fire. I can't believe it. This is the best I've ever done.
All right, Jerry, what song did you prefer on this album?
Guys, I have the best of UFO. I have UFO Live, Strangers in the Night. I do not have Lights Out. Then I purchased the remastered copy, gentlemen. And I tell you what song? Just Another Suicide.
Oh.
Which trips me out, Jim, because 8 seconds in, that lead kicks in. Frank, that would have been me had Jim not said this album.
All right.
That would have absolutely been me without Oh,
I thought Lights Out for sure.
it was for sure till I got this album. And that lead kicks in, heats up less than 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jeffrey, what did you think? I know you're shooting in the barrel here today. Too hot to
Too
handle.
hot to handle.
yeah, that too.
Good song.
Jeffrey, you're right. You're both right. Yeah.
Jim.
I said too hot to handle also.
Yeah. It would have been had I not listened to Lights Out, the album. you guys.
If you had just looked at the songs, you would have said like, "Oh, too hot to handle."
No, but I always listen. And had I stayed with the greatest or the best of and live, Frank and Jim and Jeffrey, you're both right. It would have been Lights Out or Too Hot to Handle. But no, just another suicide is.
So what's the last song? Love to Love? Is that the name of it?
Love to Love. Yeah.
That's a great song.
It is a great song.
I love that. That's a great tune.
It's a great way to close out the album. I thought it was going to be an instrumental a couple minutes into it before the vocals.
Yeah, it's kind of a long intro.
It's great.
Yeah.
Check out
First time they ever used a string arrangement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Strangers in the Night is a good place to start with UFO because it is their live album, and like Jim says,
that's where I started.
Greatest hits collection. And,
Up to that point.
Yep. Up to that point. Good point, Jaime. And good. Jeffrey, in case you haven't heard me say a million times on our podcast, I got that for Christmas when I was 16. And bless my parents, it was an LP under the Christmas tree in wrapping paper. Well, I knew what it was.
You knew it was UFO?
I knew it was a record.
Well, yeah.
And I had dropped
Obviously.
so many hints. I had dropped so many hints lately. I go, Lord, I'm gonna love my parents forever if that's UFO, Strangers in the Night, under the Christmas tree. And I have to wait to open it. I can't even peek because my mom will know.
Right.
And so yeah, 16 years old Christmas, Jeffrey.
Santa was very kind to you that year.
Oh, you are not lying. And that's still.
All right, the next pick will be mine. And I want to go to 1974. And we've talked about this album before, I'm sure, but we haven't done it in this format. But
Get Your Wings.
Get Your Wings by Aerosmith. So
probably like the second Aerosmith album I owned.
Very good.
Good one.
Good solid album. There's sign of the times. You can tell it's a early 70s rock record, but it was done right. So we'll go after that one next.
Yep.
All
Interesting.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's jump right into what this show is really all about this week. And that's our favorite rock movie. Initially, I said, no, Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park. And Jim took a steamy dump all over me and said, no. Kiss is fair game.
Well, not only that, right after he said, no Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park, I said, no, you got to include that. And he goes, okay, well, no song remains the same. And I'm like,
I said no song remains the same if you're going to do that.
Did. Oh, is that you?
Yeah.
Well, I shot that down too.
Right.
Yeah, you did. Jaime was feisty last show, Jeffrey. Feisty.
Yeah, he was. The last couple shows.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. I think it's a toothache, honestly.
I don't know.
But yeah.
I love me a feisty Jim.
Yeah.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
Feeling a little surly tonight. We're going to see how this goes.
Surly. I love it.
Hold on a second. Yeah. Okay. All right. Jim, that was Gail. She said, tone it down.
Oh,
The dogs approve.
Yeah. All right. Since we have a guest, Jeff, we're going to start with you. We want to hear what your favorite rock movie is and tell us why.
Okay. So the first thing that popped in my mind, and I didn't go with it because I figured everybody would probably pick it, was going to be Spinal Tap because I thought this is the greatest, most quotable movie ever.
But it goes to 11.
Kidding.
Yeah.
And then it came with a great album with a great gatefold, and I'm sure you guys remember the review for Shark Sandwich, right?
Yeah.
2-word review.
2-word review.
But what I did end up going with was a movie called Bandwagon that I'm sure a lot of people don't know about, and they say it's the the Spinal Tap of indie rock. So on the back of the DVD it says Spinal Tap meets the Commitments. So it's kind of like a Spinal Tap. It's comedy, but it's not as hysterical in any way like Spinal Tap is.
Right.
When it first came out, I saw it on a movie or on TV, so I videotaped my own version.
Very good.
And then eventually got the VHS tape.
Yeah.
And then when DVDs came out, I had it transferred to my.
If you come up with a laser disc,
Yeah.
All right.
Eventually, it finally did come out on DVD.
Real DVD.
So it's about a band called Circus Monkey that starts in the South. It's an indie rock version of Spinal Tap, basically. I watched it today. It doesn't hold up quite as well as it did in 1998 when it was first released, but it's hilarious. And the reason why I love this movie so much is being in bands, in a small touring band. This is what we all went through. So Spinal Tap is the arena rock band version of what those guys went through. This is what we go through as indie rockers, with the van breaking down and one guy's girlfriend ends up with another. I went through all that.
Oh man.
So it's relatable, and there's a great soundtrack for it too on CD. So
very cool.
The music is great. Yeah. An indie rock band did all the music for it, and they were instructed to make the music good, but not that good because it's an indie rock band.
Yeah, I'm good. All right, let's move forward. Jim, what rock and roll movie do you want to talk about?
Man, there are so many good ones. I think the one that kind of we talked about seeing Tommy when we were young, right?
Mm-hmm.
I talked about how much that like just really hurt me.
Kind of weird.
Yeah, couldn't deal. The most fun, I think, rock and roll movie is Rock and Roll High School. Featuring the Ramones. And I remember seeing that in high school. That was kind of like my introduction to the Ramones. I don't think I really knew anything other than Sedated. But I had to pick something a little more recent. And it is the biopic of Brian Wilson, Love and Mercy.
Oh, very good.
Great movie.
Yeah, just love that film. And
hang on, let me cross out Rock and Roll High School on my notepad.
Sure, you thought that was going to be my pick. You wouldn't have been too far off.
I wrote it down after you said it.
But let me ask you: you guys are all Kiss fans. Don't you have a soft spot in your heart for Phantom of the Park?
I love that movie.
When it came out, I did. But
I love that movie now for the pure camp of it all.
Yes,
that's
absolutely
beautiful, Frank. That's it.
Yeah,
just straight camp. And who doesn't love Anthony Zerbe?
Right.
He's evil.
The band's doubles are spot on too.
Aren't they? Especially Aces.
We got to be careful how we say it, guys. I was going to say it one way.
It's a little hilarious about that movie is like Ace doesn't really talk in the movie. He just keeps making these weird like parrot noises.
No, he does this. He goes, ah.
And I found out like much later that like they people who wrote the script went and sat in with those guys. And they spent the whole time making kind of this weird noise. So that was, they thought, well, that's how the guy communicates. So that was how they wrote his lines. And when he got the script, he was all upset. And he's all like, well, what the heck? How comes I don't really have any lines? I just make these weird noises. And they're like, because that's all you did the whole time these people were around.
Wow.
I told you when I was a kid and that thing came on, it was on whatever night. Channel 4.
I waited all night. I almost want to say Thursday night, Frank. That's how vivid it is.
Yeah, it was a weeknight for sure.
Waited for that.
I sat up with my mom. She let me stay up, of course, and we sat there and watched it.
Yeah.
And from the very beginning, as soon as I saw Hanna-Barbera on there, my jaw hit the floor because I just knew what we were headed for. And I sat there and just disbelief until, like I always talk about, when they have to move the talismans with their mind and I can see the damn strings with the talismans floating in the cage, outside the cage.
Frank,
I was done. No, I mean, they had all this
really?
money.
You were done.
I
was
was
done at 14.
done. Yep.
Really? What about
I was-
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Wire? What
I
about
was
that
so
movie?
disappointed by that. No.
You know what? I honestly didn't see The Wires.
Oh,
Neither did I. It was Kiss
yeah.
on TV. Oh,
yeah, no, I killed it for him. Just killed it. I expected so
Frank.
much more, you know.
Yeah, it was. Like
But
I
now
said,
I watch it and I love it. I
still have a soft spot for it, and the live footage of them is just great, right? I mean,
Yes.
it really kind of captures what it was like
Yep.
at
Right.
that point.
Good. All right.
What's your pick, Frank?
I went old school on you guys, and I went back to 1970,
Ooh,
and it was a play, Andrew Lloyd Webber, turned into a movie,
I think I know where he's going with this.
and I saw it on TV. It came out, I think, in the later 70s, but it was on Broadway for quite a while. But when I heard the soundtrack with Ian Gillan singing as Jesus Christ Superstar,
Superstar.
Yeah,
I'll watch that anytime it's on TV. I listen to the soundtrack regularly, and you guys know me with I liked it because it was through the perspective of how Judas saw things, and that's why it was panned so much at the time. But it was a different view of what the story is.
Oh, that's more than I know. I just remember hearing that song on the radio
all the time.
all the time.
But
Couldn't
I
get away
thought-
Oh.
from it.
No,
I remember watching the movie with Ted Neely was Jesus in the movie, and I remember at the end. Now remember in the movie, Judas hangs himself after he's told and got his blood money, so he's dead. Jesus is risen, and at the end of the movie, all the hippies are getting on the bus, and there's Judas and there's everybody, but there's no Jesus. And it used to always mystify me. Well, why? So did it happen or did it not? What are we doing here? So when you go back and watch that movie sometime, check it out. Check out the end of it. There's no Jesus at the end. So
wow, Frank,
Yeah.
that's quite deep.
yeah, well, but the guitar riffs, the music, holy mackerel, that's a great album. It's
Wow.
tons of good music. So it's worth checking out again if you haven't heard it in a while.
I did not see that coming. I gotta say.
No,
He mentioned it a little while back, actually, talking
he did,
about.
but I think he was talking about what were we talking about?
Oh, Sebastian Bach getting kicked off the Broadway or the way off Broadway in La Habra, but we had gone to see the play that Sebastian was portraying Jesus in, and we ran into him behind the theater before it started. He's giving us high fives, and we're talking Skid Row, and we're having a good time, and the fans start coming around, and he's thanking everybody for coming out. They do the play. Afterwards, he's in the back. He's just hanging out with people, being,
Sebastian Bach.
Yeah, he's a talker. So he's having a good time. He gets in his little Toyota Corolla and drives off. And a couple months later, he's fired from the play because they said he was unprofessional. They didn't like him talking to the crowd after he should have.
Oh yeah, you got to keep the
They wanted him to stay in character.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, stay
right.
in character, keep the mystique. Yep.
So, anyways.
Wow.
But anyway, check the movie out itself. The television one they did on Channel 4 a while ago with Alice Cooper and John Legend, all that, it didn't hold up. The original movie is something else. Jerry, what did you pick?
The kids are all right.
Yeah.
I just
Great
watched
one.
it again tonight. And I also have the Who Live at Kilburn, which is just the entire live show without the editing and Jeffrey Stein doing his thing. And, but to me, the kids are all right. It's been my fave for a while. I still watch it because as interviews from when they were early on, the classic is when Keith Moon is talking with Ringo. They're both lit.
Mhm.
They're both lit. And it's just funny. To me, it's funny. The thing I noticed about it, the most is it's got, of course, the last live performance of Keith Moon at Kilburn. So, you know, that helps a lot. And it's a good show. But yeah, to me, my favorite rock and roll documentary is the Who, The Kids Are All Right. And since Jeffrey went his route, I feel great about saying this honorable mention. I told Frank and Jim, Jeffrey, I had an honorable mention, and it's That Thing You Do.
That was my first pick.
I
love that movie.
I could loop that watching it. I could loop that listening to it, and I have, folks, in Conspiracy Land. I have. And
Very
to me,
good.
that Frank, you really that thing? You
That
do,
was
that
my
game too?
initial pick, and I just like, nah, because remember I bought the Ramones shirt that said Oneaters instead, and
Oh, I could watch that movie.
Yeah.
And just soundtrack. I think initially
Yes.
when it came out, I think I had it on CD, and just.
and Tom Hanks wrote a lot of those songs.
He did. That's what's weird. And you can't find who the singers are. You can try. It's been enough years now. You probably could find the legit ones.
Yeah.
But I know initially you could not find these cats anywhere. They kept a lid on that. I'm sure that's a studio thing.
Right.
But that's my honorable mention. That Thing You Do.
Oh, well, see,
Yeah.
my honorable mention would have been Kiss Meets Scooby Doo, but I know Jim, he loved that so much.
Terrible.
What's that one song? They do a barbershop quartet song, My Ascot, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, my ass got burned last time I bought a Kiss album. Is that what you meant? Did I say that out loud?
Yeah, you did. Well,
you know,
I love to wear an ascot.
First time I ever saw Kids Are All Right, I saw it with Jerry.
Oh.
He came over to my house. We watched it on TV, and totally changed my perspective of the Who. And I'd say if anybody hasn't seen it, watch it just for the brilliance that is Keith Moon.
Right. Energy.
You will come to appreciate his drumming just on a completely different level.
Oh, that dude was
an animal.
He was an animal.
Yeah. You've heard drummers play double bass, and then you've heard Keith Moon play double bass 30 years before him.
Yeah.
And it's
Now we were talking about Tommy.
Jim, you can remember stuff. Oh my gosh, Jim. Wow.
We were talking about how Tommy freaked us out as kids. Did you see that in the theater, Jeff? Tommy?
No. In fact, I think the first time I watched it was probably about 10 years ago.
Oh.
And it did freak me out.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
I can listen to it all day long, but I don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
As a kid, I thought it was really disturbing, right? I mean, I wasn't mentally
still is.
I wasn't mentally mature enough to be able to cope with
Well, I think we all went
images.
For the Elton John factor because he was the pinball wizard and that was the hottest song.
Frank, I forgot about that.
Right.
Oh, could I play an Elton John pinball Captain Fantastic Machine? Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
How about Susan Sarandon in that one?
And Margaret.
Anne
Margaret.
Oh, is it Anne Margaret?
Anne Margaret, yeah.
Susan Sarandon's in Rocky Horror, which also would have been one of my picks.
But same vibe, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Anne Margaret, is she Gypsy the Acid Queen?
That's Tina Turner, yeah.
That was Tina Turner.
That's right.
But
I'm a little surprised you didn't bust out Rocky Horror Picture Show because that's
it was too obvious, I thought.
How many times have you seen that?
I can't count.
Yeah.
I never saw it at a theater.
It's like I can't tell you how many times I went to the midnight showing of Song Remains the Same, right?
Right. Now that I agree with.
Dozens, probably. I don't know.
Pewenny Hill 6.
Yeah. There were quite a few places that played it. As soon as one would stop showing it, somebody else would.
Right.
Yeah.
Rocky Horror was always at the Covina Cinema.
Yes.
Downtown Covina.
Yes.
Old Town Covina. Yeah. Wow. Forever.
We went there every Saturday night for I don't know how long. And it was always a party. It was just the strangest people in the world were the normalest folks inside there. That's what made it so good.
Yep.
You know, strangely, the one time I went and saw Rocky Horror Picture Show in an actual theater, because I'd only seen it like on TV and whatnot.
Yeah.
There were only like 5 other people
Wow.
in the theater, and There was one girl in the theater who was yelling out all the cues, but if it hadn't been for her, I would have been like, well, what's the party all about? I don't get it. There was nobody dressed up. There was nobody throwing toast at the screen or anything like that. So I was a little disappointed. I think I snuck back out, went over back to Song Remains the Same or something like that.
Wow.
A lot of great ones though that we didn't mention. Decline of Western Civilization.
Excellent.
Take your pick. 1, 2.
The middle years is it's almost hard to watch for me now because it's so dated in where we are now as a society. The punk rock one,
I think is great.
Nothing's changed. You know what? That bit of life is still that bit of life. You know, but the Western Civilization, the middle years was just it's hard to watch.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
I've got a 5-disc set on that. It's got all of them. And I go back and do the punk, like a revisit the punk years.
Right, and number 3 or whatever, right?
Yeah, and it's like I say, their lives didn't change at all.
No.
So I don't know. You could have picked
the
Woodstock.
Nobody picked the Wall.
Nobody picked the Wall.
Nobody picked the Wall.
We briefly discussed that last episode because we couldn't.
Yeah, we did.
I couldn't. I got Boomtown Rats, but I couldn't get Bob Geldof's name off my, in my head. Where exactly did he shave his eyebrows? So that's one of those movies you got to be baked to enjoy though, because it's.
But you got to rebake midway. That's what I don't like about it.
That's the problem. It's a long.
Because it's so long.
It's like, man, get to it.
But nobody picked anything that was too recent.
Well, I love my G3 concerts. I love my G3 concerts with Satriani, Eric Johnson, Steve Vai, Ingwe's on G3 too, I think. But
Jeff, you like you still a fan of David Crosby? Hope They Remember My Name. Isn't that the name of that?
Yeah,
documentary?
Remember My Name. Yeah.
Is that a documentary, Jeffrey?
It is. Yes. Yeah.
I'll write that down.
Yeah. So it's a documentary. What was it released on? I forgot. HBO. I don't know. It was
maybe Showtime. One of those. Yeah.
What's the title?
To find. Remember My Name.
Thank you.
And I think they had an agenda with it. I feel like it's definitely a sympathetic version of David Crosby. So
I didn't feel that way at the end of it though, because I disliked him even more, because I saw right through him. Just again, and we've talked about this in the past. You have to separate the person from the artist. There's a lot like you too. I don't want to hear political views, but I like some of their music. Crosby, you cannot deny what an awesome artist and singer, and musician.
Talent.
Yes, but
pure talent, but baked it all.
He's just not a human being that I would walk across the street and say hello to. Yeah.
I'd just try. Hey, I like your album when you were 22, and then see what he says. He might be like that guy in the meeting of life. Oh, piss off.
Yeah. He'd probably say, "Of course you did. Everybody did."
Right. See, that's what's sad about frying it all up.
Yeah.
Like Sid Barrett. Just, there's so much juice in there, and you just let it all run out.
Jeff, what was your take on the Go-Go's recent documentary? How did you feel after that was over?
So I think I watched that probably about 12 times. So that might give you a hint. I loved it.
So barely got into it, huh, Jeffrey?
I have absolutely loved it. So I was always a Go-Go's fan. We used to look in the back of Billboard magazine and get all the bootlegs that was like on the back couple pages where you could order bootleg live tapes.
Right.
We used to get all the live Go-Go
That's old.
tapes. Yeah. And it just brought back all the excitement for me. So and then just leading right up to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, right, or nomination. So it was,
I never knew Charlotte was a drug addict. I never knew that.
Same.
it blew me away because it seemed like she was the most together one in the band.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
that's
just
what
from
Bangs will do.
yeah. So
And I think a highlight for me was seeing Jeff McDonald walk by in the background real quick when they were interviewing Charlotte. So being a Red Cross fan, I'm
Right.
sure Jim can appreciate this too. But seeing just a little glimpse of Jeff McDonald, I'm like, yes, Red Cross, represent.
Represent. They're actually making a Red Cross documentary.
Yes.
And I want to say the very first time I met Jeff was actually at a go-go show at the Greek.
Oh.
And he was just standing off just outside the stage there. There's no real backstage there. The stage doors just kind of open
to
out
the side, yeah.
off to the side. And anyway, he was just standing over there, and I just rolled up and started talking to him.
Wow.
Kind of forced myself upon him.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, very, very nice. And very gracious.
Cool. I know, Jeff, you're also talking about a possible Dream Syndicate documentary coming out.
Yes, yeah. On our podcast, Paisley Stage Raspberry and Rhyme, we were fortunate enough to interview the documentarian Emil Spolder from the Netherlands, and he's interviewed quite a few people, including Ryan Adams. He interviewed Black Crowes because they're big fans of the band. So he's looking to release that summer of 2022. So it looks like he's doing it justice. So a lot of bands were influenced by them. And again, I would say not to the extent UFO was, but I think they're one of those bands that a lot of people should know that don't know. So
I think a lot of bands were influenced and are influenced by them that we wouldn't even think of.
Right.
Because, a lot of people, Dream Syndicate, that's like the equivalent of the Grateful Dead, man. They just jam. But then you listen to their songs. Steve Wynn, and I don't. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of his style of singing, but I love his lyrics. The guy writes some of the most intelligent lyrics you'll ever hear. So,
well, they're like one of those bands. If you know, you know, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so, it's weird that some of the most influential bands are not the bands who sell like tons of records, right? So, I'll give you an example. Say the New York Dolls, right? New York Dolls never sold records.
They influenced a ton, though. Yeah.
But they ended up influencing a ton of other bands. Velvet Underground, right? Never sold a ton of records, but if you knew, you knew, right? So they went on, and you probably know all the bands that were influenced by somebody like the Velvet Underground.
Right. I'm really looking forward to that when it comes out, because like Ryan Adams, who would think that he would be a fan or even influenced?
Or Black Crowes, really. I mean,
Chris Robinson.
I remember reading the Black Crowes and thinking like, oh, faces.
Yeah.
Small faces, right?
Yeah.
Right. No, very good. And all four of us, we probably have to do it ourselves, but there needs to be a Muffs documentary.
Oh, I was thinking they should do a Paisley Underground one of the four original bands. That would be
more
fascinating.
That would be more apropos. Yeah. Well, we know Ronnie's out there, folks, don't we?
Yep.
Muffs documentary would be fantastic.
Oh.
Well, that's another band that you could talk to almost anybody, and as soon as you mention, most people, Kids in America, but when they get into it, I've seen them this many times. I've seen them here. I've seen them there. It's amazing how much traction that band has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, I think, Jeff, you need to go buy a nice camera and get a boom and start interviewing Ronnie on a regular basis and talk Roy into coming down.
It's not hard to get him talking. He'll just go.
Roy's going to be the hard one.
Yep.
Roy's going to be the hard one. I love that. I watched them live at the Getty Center, and even though I know Frank's recording, Jim, Frank, and Jeffrey, Jim brought up on the show, whatever show it was, the Muffs. And the dog approved. Dog knows.
Dog approves of the Muffs.
Yeah, dog knows where I'm going. I approve of the muffs too. But I had never heard of them. I knew what that word meant in high school. So I almost made a stupid comment. And thank God I'm pushing 60 because I just go, shut up, Jerry. Let's see what Jim said. And then I start listening to him, and I was like, Jerry, you have missed so much stuff. And now I love him. And of course, Ronnie's a card.
Yeah.
We lost Kim way too soon. And Roy, I love, because you guys know I love my Who. And that guy is a monster.
Yeah.
In a good way on the drum kit.
Yep.
So that's
feel very fortunate. I got to see him in Red Cross. Never got to see him in the Muffs, but
wow. Thank
very
you.
Cool.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for all the intel, guys, I get from you every show. So,
all right.
Don't know where I was going with that, but
well,
love
Jeff,
it.
we're gonna close it out. You got anything you want to add before we go?
The only thing I was thinking of is I did have a documentarian reach out to me that knew that we had a connection with Ronnie and asked me to put the two of them together, but I don't think that went anywhere. So I think Ronnie had other ideas. So
yeah, I know he's picky.
We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
As well as he should be. He wants the band to be portrayed a certain way, and by all rights, that's the way it should be.
Yep. And exactly, Jaime. Rightly so.
What about you, Jerry? You have anything?
No, folks on Conspiracy Land, thank you to Jeffery Brenneman for joining our show. He's from the Paisley Stage Raspberry and Rhyme podcast. And folks out in Conspiracy Land, just keep rocking. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, and I just want to piggyback on that, Jeff. Thanks so much for coming along for the ride.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
And let's do it again soon.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Thank you so much for having me on.
All right.
Love you, Jeffrey. You've been with us from the very beginning, and we didn't even know what was going on.
You guys,
and of course,
we kind of still don't.
Well, I know one thing. I can say props to the white glove test. I can say that.
Yeah, you go.
Heck yeah.
All right, Jim. What about you? You have anything?
Well, I'm glad you Jeff was too polite to.
He always is.
Plug his own show, but I'm glad you guys did. So if you have not listened to it, he and Sarai are fantastic. They know the material inside and out, and I kind of latched onto them early on and heard them, and was just enamored of them. And then we kind of had we've had the opportunity to guest on each other's shows now, and it's been fun, and just getting to know Jeff's been a real blessing in our lives. So
yes. And I just want to say, I would like to see some analytical review on when we guested on the Paisley Stage Raspberry and Rhyme, because I would almost guarantee you that those were their lowest rated shows.
Oh,
so
no
I
doubt.
want to see some numbers.
Not true. Not true. Not true.
Jeffrey, all it is Frank and his numbers. Let me go through my notes. I'll find it. I'll look it up. It was probably, since we were on your podcast, it was probably double the numbers, but Frank's just anti.
No.
But I'll look it up. I got my notes, guys. Look, this is just today.
Those Paisley fans, they don't have time for us.
No.
Well, when the song comes in under 2-3 minutes, that's all the time they got.
There you go. All right,
I mean
Jim.
that in a good way.
Take us on home, Jim.
The shop is closed.
All right.
So
You know what my answer is, Jeffrey?
I think I
Just
know.
try it once. Take a fat rip. No bullshit. No bullshit, guys. It relieves pressure on the back of the retina. Factual. I'm just saying.
So I actually brought that up. I brought that up to him.
What did he say?
He said, he goes, it'll work for like 10 seconds. He goes, regardless of what your friends will tell you, he goes, it's not really a medical way to treat glaucoma. He
That's
says
good enough for me. Yep.
It does lower the pressure, but he said in order for it to stay regular, he said basically you'd be having to smoke a joint every minute.
Sure.
Oh, never mind that then. Never mind
Because
that. I don't even do that.
Yeah,
go
I
bathing.
don't see the.
I know.
I
said,
don't
what's the
see the
problem?
positive.
There's no
trade-off
health
there.
benefit. Yeah, there's no health benefit for every minute. You know.
Yeah, but he said it will lower it. It's just so quick that the pressure comes
probably
back.
lowers
more-
your ability to care is what
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's more intel than I've had. My stuff goes back like 20 years. Hey, it does what?
Yeah.
Yeah.